very difficult for me to talk about. Um, so I'll try to hurry through that part. If I can find where I need to be in that tablet. I know it's here. Anyway, I'm going to start. Uh, it was about 2 years ago. David Grant, which I think some of you know David. Some of you probably know David very well. He came to me and says, look, he says, I want to do a 6-day whitewater rafting trip. I says, I'm in. There's no other questions. And then he started hitting me with the money. He said, well, we need to get this and we need to get that. Okay, then, let's get it. Let's get what we need. 3 months, about 3 months before we went, my brother came down with cancer. And that was a very difficult time because it was my younger brother. If it would have been my older brother, I would have said, okay, I understand, his lifestyle, everything. But it was my younger brother. It was the one I was actually closer to. And that's a point I want to bring out to you. When the Lord gives you a challenge, it's not going to be a challenge that you can deal with. It's going to be a challenge. You're going to have to depend on Him to deal with it for you.
Amen.
There is no way that I couldn't have coped with this without the Lord. I'm going to step out on a limb. For the people that don't have the Lord in their life, I understand why suicide is so prevalent. Because there's nothing in my life at this moment, right now, including this sermon, that I can't give to the Lord. He wants everything. He don't want you to say, Lord, I think I possibly can handle this, so let me take care of it. He don't want that. He don't want, Lord, I've got this birthday party. It's not going to be a problem. He wants you to give Him that birthday party. He wants to be at that birthday party with you. He does not want you to think for 1 second that you can handle anything in this world. He wants you to understand one thing, and I want you to understand one thing before I go any farther. He's the one that created us. He's the one that died on the cross for us. And He's the one that is the only thing that's going to get us to heaven. There's not a thing on this earth that we can do that can get us to heaven. Only through Jesus Christ. And knowing that, I'm going to venture on with my sermon. I want to, this is for the fellow up there. I usually start my sermons with a story or a joke. This one here, I can't. Because my brother was a big joke. And he loved to have a good time. And I want to reveal one thing to you if I can. If I can make it through it, I want to reveal it to you. If I can't, I'm just going to bypass it. Because it's only been a year. I do want to read John 3:16. In fact, all of you can basically say it. For God so loved the world, He gave His only Son to die for us. That's ad lib. I want to tell you, the verse before it and the verse behind it is very powerful too. Amen. Because He came to this world not to condemn the world, to save it. On my brother's deathbed, he claimed that promise. Amen. So I know for a fact I will see my brother again in heaven. And these are not tears of sorrow. These are tears of joy, because I'm looking forward to that day. The night he passed away, I was there with him. And all his friends were there. And Russell did not have, he knew the Lord, he just didn't follow the Lord. And all his friends that he had, they had parties. And when they threw parties, they threw parties. And every last one of them was there that night. It was a Friday night. And it was Friday evening. And I run to get the family something to eat, and I came back, and they were all standing there. And they were walking out. They said, "Come on, John, we just can't handle this. We're going to get drunk. Come with us." And I said, "No, I'm here for my brother, and I'm going to be here for my brother." I said, "You all go do what you're going to do." And they left. And at that moment, I don't know in your lives if you've ever been revealed what the Lord's plan is, but at that moment, I knew my brother was going to pass away. Didn't know when, didn't know what time of day, but I knew he was going to be the Lord was going to take him at that moment. Because that group of friends had such a powerful influence on my brother that I knew if he lived, it may not be a month, it may not have been a year, but he would have been pulled back in. The devil would have pulled him back in. And the Lord revealed that to me. I want to tell you, there's times when the Lord steps in and says, "You need to see this." That was one of them moments for me. And that's why I know I'll see my brother again. Now, I want to back the story up a little bit, because this leads into a thing. 2 weeks before that, David called me, and he says, "We are leaving on June, whatever it was, I don't remember the date. He said, we're leaving this date. If something happens to your brother, what are you going to do?" He says, "Well, I told him, I says, I can't go on the trip." The Lord allowed him to pass away in time for us to plan the rest of this trip. This is the miracle. We put 14 permits in to go out west and do a river. 14 permits. The day of my brother's memorial service, we got the acceptance of one of the permits, and it was the Yampa River. It's one of the hardest rivers to get on, and there's people that's tried to get on this river for 35 years and have not won a permit. This was our first year. Ever tried. That was a miracle in itself. That afternoon, after we won the permit, there was one slot left open. And I asked my brother's daughter if she wanted one trip with us. And she said yes. It was a rough trip, but it was one of the best trips for her. Because after the trip was over, my mom called her and says, "What in the world did you all do?" "We had fun." She says, "You brought back a different girl. She's coming to church, she's talking to people, she's in fact, this morning, right now, she's already done it. She sang with the praise group this morning at church. Amen. Okay? I want to tell you, this entire trip, what David planned the trip. He was not the director of the trip. God was. There was things that happened on this trip that you could see the Lord's hand in every step of it. I just want to tell you, these last couple of years have been really rough. I've lost one of my best friends. I'm wearing his color today. Pink was his favorite color, and July was his favorite month. Because we used to go to camp, we'd take bikes, we'd drop the kids off at camp, and we would go ride our bikes. And I just want to remember Reggie. Everybody knows Reggie. Most everybody in here knows Reggie. He was one of my best friends. And this is why I'm bringing Reggie up right now. Reggie's on the other scope. Reggie was a God-fearing person. Reggie was Jesus walking on this earth. And I don't care what you think of Reggie, he was God-fearing, and he loved God. He did everything for God. In his work, I worked for him. In his work, in his lifestyle, he loved God. And I truly believe I'm going to see Reggie again on Resurrection Day. Amen. And that's part of my sermon right there. I wanted to bring you both scopes of it. Because right now, we need to work and strive to be, just like I told the children, to be more like God every day. The moment somebody walks up to you and says, I see Jesus in you, you need to praise the Lord. Amen. But to make that praise even better, you need to look at yourself in a mirror. And when you see Jesus in that mirror, that's when you need to grab his message and go. Because at that moment right there, you're on fire for him. And I heard somebody say this morning that they wish there was more people at this church. I'm going to give you a scenario on how to fill this church. And it's super, super simple. Look at your neighbor. Have your neighbor look back at you. And the one your neighbor's looking at is the one you need to fix. Amen. Okay? The moment you fix yourself and walk with God and be more like God every day is the moment somebody's going to come up to you and say, who do you know? Why are you like that? And I guarantee you, they will do that. Because it's happened to me. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I am far from perfect. Right, Christy? Right. Why I'm picking on Christy? Because Christy was Reggie's husband. Reggie was Christy's husband. I'll get it straight here in a minute. And in the last 5 years, I've been part of a lot of Christy's life. And we've become very close friends. And since she's moved to my hometown, I'm trying to do what Reggie asked me to do. Can you please watch over my wife? And so I try my best to make sure I call her, touch base with her, ask her how she's doing, and try to do what I need to do. Because that's what we need to do. I'm gonna jump back and forth a little bit. So I'm gonna try not to lose you, because this morning our scripture was about faith. And there's a couple things I wanted to bring out into faith. The reason why God, when Jesus came to this earth, the world was not changed. Totally, completely changed. Because people did not have the faith in Jesus. Because when Jesus came and died on the cross, if people would have had the faith, we wouldn't be here today. If we had the faith that we need, this church would be so full we would have to have 5 services. The faith is what we need. We need to have faith to trust in Jesus. Because I can tell you right now, it's the trust that we fail miserably in.